Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of our Tales from Tech Support. In today's episode, we get extra public subsidies if we broadcast this over the air. 6,000 copies of the same email and counting. Reverse charge calls from jail. Just because it's not working doesn't mean it's a bug. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. We get extra public subsidies if we broadcast this over the air. Some years ago, I found myself on the roof of our building at work, early in the evening. Technically I'm on the clock, but it's a quiet night at my telco, and there's a blood moon event, so some of us decided to just go up there and have a slightly extended union break stargazing. After bypassing a locked door with an override security card we're not really supposed to have, I see the roof for the first time. Great view. But we notice the oddest thing in a corner. A commercial-grade emitter and a receiver dish facing each other with just a few inches in between, in a transparent casing to protect them from the weather and eliminate interference, with hardened cables connected to each going back in the building on both ends. I can't fathom a reason for this contraption. In theory that's utterly useless, a simple cable would do the same thing and we're a cable telco. We chat about it and are all a bit curious, but we don't have an answer, so we just relax and do some sky gazing as originally planned. Next day, I look at the building plans. It's all there in detail for anyone to see amongst the fire drill documents. The contraption is documented and it's actually broadcasting and receiving inches away over the air a couple QAMs, which I look up and notice are reserved for public channels, including CBC. I go downstairs to the office of the TV product director to get the skinny. I skip the part about the stargazing on the clock and tell him I saw this on the plans, wondering if he has an explanation. TVPD, oh yeah, that. We only get the full subsidies for broadcasting certain public channels if we do so over the air rather than strictly through a cable network. The rules were written by the CRTC at a time most households didn't have cable, and they were never updated. Once we stopped doing real OTA, here and at every head end, we installed a setup like this where we are technically broadcasting a couple QAMs OTA and feeding it back inside to the cable network to stay in technical compliance. Moment of silence while I process this. Bitewave, that's cheating. Beautiful, genius cheating. Given how arcane these rules are, perfectly appropriate. It's also a great story. I'll let the rest of senior staff know about this. I walk away not sure if I should be stunned or vaguely in awe. Probably both. For clarity, the genius part is that after being OTA for a millisecond, the feed the receiver gets goes on to become the source feed we broadcast for these channels. So it's not a matter of being able to pretend we're sending something over the air, but very much that any of our customers watching these channels is actually receiving a feed that was briefly OTA. That's what made this bizarre solution defensible. After all, there's nothing that says for how long the signal has to be OTA. There's also nothing that required these dishes to be on the roof. At other head ends they are all inside. But at my work location, there was a set outside that could be easily repurposed on the roof with minimal trouble. All of Bitewaves Tails on TFTS. 6,000 copies of the same email and counting. Someone clamored for more traditional / clear-cut tech support stories today. I will continue to post various kinds of stories, but hey, here's something from a few weeks ago. Senior line at my telco as usual. Bitewave, senior line, Bitewave. You may send me your ticket. Thomas, hey, Bitewave, here goes. My customer got the same inbound email about 6,000 times in our webmail, and duplicates keep coming in. I'm not sure what to do. It has a small attachment, and he's going to hit the size cap soon. Okay. We established that we're plaintext offenders already, and I'm ashamed, but until I get the tools to troubleshoot things in a fashion that would fit industry standards. Yeah, I'm already logged in this guy's webmail. Bitewave, yeah, this is all coming from another email address that bears this customer's name, looks like a forwarded inbound. Please ask him about $customer@unknownisp.ca, who is providing this address, and which software and/or webmail he's accessing it with. It's not an outbox issue, it's a forwarded incoming, so check for a redirection pointing to our mailbox. I also want to know about any security suites he's running. Instructions this long-winded always take a while. I use the time to reply to comments on my latest TFTS tail on my laptop. Given I'm healthily paranoid about my employer not liking some of my tails, it's connected to a router in range outside our office that uses a different ISP. Signal isn't as great as if I used the labs, but it gets the job done for text. Frontline eventually comes back. Thomas, that address is from a small independent email host, it's set up in Outlook. There was a redirection to us, but customer deleted it before calling us. I triple checked. Couldn't find any security beyond XP's firewall. Also, the inbound email isn't in Outlook at all, he never got it there. Right. That makes zero sense, obviously still missing data. Bitewave, okay, doesn't compute. Tell your user to shut down Outlook, and then we'll see if the incoming fire is still hitting our webmail. More holding, more TFTS. Thomas, he did. He says he refreshed his webmail a few times, and it seems to still be at 6,788 copies. Of course it did. Bitewave, if there's no redirection, there's a security suite managing his in/out email that's having a serious issue. We'll need to check that again. Thomas, but I already looked at the bottom right icons. Bitewave, look again and make sure to ask him if there isn't a little sign hiding some of them. If you don't find it, Control Panel, Programs, and go through the list alphabetically. Once you do find a security suite, shut it down, and keep going till Z in case he has more than one. I'll hold. These are the kinds of instructions that gives me a long break, but it takes the time it takes. Senior staff do not have stats, thankfully. Thomas, we found no security on the bar, but after looking through the programs list, he has $security, not sure why we didn't find the icon. We shut it down like you asked, I killed it with the task manager. Color me surprised. Bitewave, open Outlook, wait 30 seconds, and have him refresh the webmail. Then tell me if there's incoming fire again. Holding. Thomas, Outlook is open now. We were sitting at 6788 on our webmail after we opened it. But when we launched $security again, it incremented anew. Bitewave, right. $security's filtering bugged something fierce. It's the deleted redirection issue that puzzles me. A filtered out email that was still redirected to us whenever the mail client was open? Please hold. I Google a bit and find an explanation. $security, in its ardent desire to filter all mail as best as it can, imports certain settings including redirections and manages them on its own. So, you delete a redirection from your mail client, but hey, $security might not care, it remembers, and does whatever it feels like whenever your mail client is open. I'm very jaded, but that's still worth a facepalm. Stupendous work. I explain my conclusions to Thomas. Thomas, how do I fix that? Bitewave, we are not $security technical support. Give the customer their contact number, I Googled it for you and am IMing it, they'll have to deal with it if the customer wants to retain their services. Ugh. I'm now supposed to tell you that you must also offer the customer our own security suite as an alternative. I'm not a fan, but at least I've never seen it remember a deleted redirection, for what that's worth. I stayed on to make sure my conclusions were right. They were. As long as $security was down, no issues. Bugs with security software are common, but this was particularly ridiculous. Thomas was happy and his customer too. Unfortunately, the latter made a mistake. He agreed to the suggestion to subscribe to our security suite as a replacement, sad face. So, I'm sure we'll be hearing from him again soon. At least I can lull myself to sleep knowing it's Probably. Vaguely. Better than dollar security. All of Bitewaves Tails on TFTS. Reverse charge calls from jail. Just because it's not working doesn't mean it's a bug. Reverse charge calls from correctional facilities have had for a while a known habit of randomly not working or cutting abruptly after mere seconds, ending up with dead lines for inmates trying to call their relatives. Such calls originate overwhelmingly from payphones in these facilities. Whenever those who got and wanted these calls were our customers, they of course called us to complain. Many years ago, when this was a relatively new phenomenon, I investigated it at my telco and found failure rates for such calls way out of line with the average. Furthermore, there were big discrepancies in failures and dropped calls depending on the facility. It was almost impossible to cross-reference with other carriers though, because we'd have needed an inmate to try to reverse call several test lines registered at our competitors, but had no way to talk to them directly. I documented all that and escalated a ticket to switchboards responsible for this kind of issue, and to competition to try to arrange intra-carrier tests and figure out if we couldn't prove the problem was on the end of the correctional facilities. They sat in the void a while, and were then abruptly closed with minimal info. Switchboards. Status changed to resolved. Resolution: not a technical issue on our end. Given the amount of tickets Frontline handled related to this, I wasn't happy with the non-explanation and escalated a new improper resolution ticket to middle management as per procedure whenever a network ticket is solved unsatisfactorily. Management at Switchboards swiftly forwarded it to internal security, which handles our external contacts with everything sensitive, such as police or legal requests, communications with government officials, or should the need arise, I suppose, correctional facilities. Director of Internal Security. Status changed to won't fix. Ticket status updated to sensitive. Meaning only senior staff and above can read it. Resolution: confirming, not a technical issue on our end, do not escalate further. We are however now allowed to tell users that we are certain the issues are not on our end whenever this occurs after basic tests on recipient service quality, and to contact the correctional facility directly for further information. Update procedures with prudent language and please run it by legal. And this is how learn for all practical purposes that some correctional facilities are likely sabotaging on purpose the ability of some inmates to make some reverse charge calls, their only legal way to contact their loved ones unless the prison is in the same area code, on unknown grounds, and making it look like technical problems. Personally, it made me cringe, but after that it was largely out of my hands. Senior staff agreed based on what data we had that since most calls still worked, the most realistic scenario here is that certain correctional facilities were deliberately targeting some inmates and limiting their ability to call. We were also able to confirm in the meantime that other carriers had similar issues. We also know it wasn't always this way. This problem appeared about 10 years ago. Before that, it was practically unheard of. All of Bitewaves Tails on TFTS.